What is up guys, this is Wim and in this video I will show you how to create very interesting randomized atmospheres like this. Let's get started. So first of all, we're going to go into instruments and we're going to search for the preset specific hat. We want to turn off the low pass filter and we also don't need the resonance on the high pass filter. Then we just want to turn it up so we get this nice hi-hat sound. Now we're just going to create a very simple pattern which could look something like this. Now we're going to show you a very nice technique which can help you to randomize some parameters within your synthesizer. Go into the Max for Live tab and search for LFO. Map the LFO to the decay time of the hi-hat. And we want to turn down the depth so it's not so extreme. We can also use the offset here to make the decay a little bit shorter. But of course this is not really a randomized function. So far we're just having a basic LFO here. But of course we can also use the random function here. Now we just take it into the tempo mode and put it into the 16th notes. So now basically whatever pattern you're going to do here, every time the hi-hat hits, it's going to have a different decay time. Now let's just add a huge reverb over here so we can create this big atmospheres. For this I'm using the Valhalla Vintage Verb with a very long decay time. Now we could add an auto filter to make this hi-hat even more interesting. And for this one I want to use the PRD mode with a little bit of drive. We want to use a lot of resonance to really boost those frequencies over here. And then we're just going to take this cutoff filter down a little bit. That already has this really nice dark atmosphere. But let's make this even more interesting and also implement an LFO over here. Now you can hear we have even more change in every single hi-hat hit. That could already sound great on its own, but let's take it one step further and add some really interesting delays. And there's one plugin which just works perfect for that, and it's called Portal by Output. And I actually have two different units of Portal here applied. And they are both just mixed in slightly over here with the dry and wet. And that just makes this hi-hat sound really interesting. That already really sounds like a next level atmosphere. Let's see how this performs in our track. Now you can see this sound alone can already fill up this whole track atmosphere, and without it, it just sounds absolutely empty. But that sound could really go through a 7-minute track and really won't ever get boring at any time. It just sounds different on every single hit. Of course, you could also make this pattern a little bit more interesting and add some more changes. But for me, this works perfect, especially if we add some other drums on top. Now let's also try to add a more melodic atmosphere sound. And for that I just created this very simple melody over here. And the interesting thing that is happening here, that we are closing this loop not at the regular position where you would do it normally. We're just extending this loop here out a little bit and ending on an unusual count here. And that is just making this loop way more interesting, because in relation to the kick and the other samples in the track here, this loop has a whole different counting and you can really play around with it. Sometimes just extending it like this or even like this is also very interesting, but this time it really worked perfect for me like that. And now let's just pick a sound from Diva. I'm gonna go into my preset pack here and just see what could work for this nice ambient sound. Yeah, I think this sound could work great. It already has a very nice atmosphere, but actually it's not so important because we can change it up quite drastically with some cool effects here. First, I actually would like to try this technique which I explained in my previous video, where you can use the Echo Boy dealer here as a very nice sound design tool. And let's just skip through my presets here real quick and see if we can find something nice. Yeah, I think this dark preset here could work perfectly in this track because we also want this nice dark atmosphere. Now we could even go into the hi-hat back here and maybe even just try to copying this auto filter to make it a bit more interesting. turn it down here a little bit, maybe a little bit less resonance, and you could also make this LFO a bit slower. If we want to create some atmosphere in the track, we usually don't want to have the whole frequency range here in the track because it's just filling up the track a little bit too much. So usually we just want to pick a very narrow range here where this atmosphere sound can sit. And we already have this hi-hat sound which is filling up the nice high frequencies here. And now let's just try to find something in the mid-range. So this is just very important to keep your mix clean a little bit. And now let's try to make it a little bit more interesting by adding a slight auto pan. So we can move the sound slightly to the left and to the right. And of course we also want to add this nice and big hall reverb over here. That already sounds great on its own, but let's try to play around with the portal effect here again. And I'm just gonna skip through some of my favorite presets here and see if something like this works. And of course we want to play this together in the mix to make a final decision. Nice higher atmosphere here, we can also mix it in a bit. Oh, this sounds interesting. You can see with the combination of all those effects here, we can really achieve those forever ongoing sounds, which is stay interesting really through a 7-minute track. And we are really recreating those nice modular effect styles here with some very basic techniques. Of course, you don't need to have the Portal plugin. You can also use some other Ableton effects like the echo, where you of course also have a lot of modulation options here. Now, of course, I'm gonna put those effects together in a rack, and also you can download the template in the description. If you enjoyed watching this video, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like, and if you have some extra time, maybe also a comment. Thank you guys, and of course, I see you in the next one.